What's going on, my fellow A-plusers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, coming through once again with another Titans review, as we are going to go ahead and get into episode number, 6 so far into this season, this third season of Titans, this time airing on HBO Max. Guys, we're back. The title of this week's episode called Lady Vic, under the name of a DC character who I'm personally not too quite familiar with. This was actually my first time getting the opportunity to be introduced to her as a character. I did notice that she was, at least in the comic books, don't know too much about her background, but this is sort of like a little bit of preview, if you will, to kind of get introduced to this character here. Not too bad of an episode, one that I certainly enjoyed. I'm here for the interpersonal relationships, like the whole entire continued growth of Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon, getting to see just some of the current awkward situations that they find themselves in, the constant pushback between police officer and vigilante, and then mix that in with like just the past that these two characters wind up having. I think just makes for a really great story, especially when it's interlinked with that of Jason Todd, Red Hood story that we see here in this episode, kind of taking some twists and some turns here. As it looks as though Red Hood has gone a little bit AWOL, if you will, and we get to see what seems to be sort of the origin stories of a brand new Robin in Tim Drake, who we wind up seeing towards the end of this episode also. So while it certainly lacked sort of like the big bombastic action pieces, not too many people in costume doing a bunch of stuff. Outside of that, if you look past that, I thought it had some pretty good storytelling overall, at least in regards to, you know, the Starfire, Blackfire stuff, the Red Hood stuff, and then of course with Dick Grayson along with Barbara Gordon. Always great to see those storylines kind of get some push. And I got to give some props to Gar this year. You know, one of the biggest complaints that a lot of people have had as big fans of Gar Logan, the idea that he hasn't really had too much to do. So the fact that they've really have found a niche for him in this season to not really, I don't want to say he's got like well, I guess he technically has a starring role. I mean, Homeboy's in literally almost every episode so far this season. He's actually doing some really great work as like a great sort of supporting cast member, helping out, whether that be Dick Grayson or Corey Anders or hanging out with Connor Kent. I really have loved the addition and the idea that they're allowing Gar to do more things, like because honestly, one of my favorite scenes in this episode really comes down to when Dick Grayson and Gar are trying to figure out who the culprit is that wind up murdering the people over at the lab. The idea that Dick Grayson takes one of Bruce Wayne's old training techniques, just audio, you've got no visuals to certainly look at, and to see him figuring out the different types of weapons, the type of slashes that are taking place, and then seeing Gar sort of execute them to kind of line things up for him. It was really great in my eyes to kind of see those two really working well together, and it just continues to highlight just the growth of Gar in this season so far. So that was honestly one of my favorite sequences that we wind up getting in here. As far as story arcs go, I continue to love the Dick Grayson and Barbara story. We get the opportunity to kind of get thrown back 6 years, get the opportunity to see Barbara Gordon being a little devilish, if you will, a little mischievous herself, right? I guess that's almost expected when you're the daughter of the commissioner, right? Probably when you're like the daughter of a pastor too, right? I'm sure you probably have some mischievous ways. People probably have so many high expectations for you, type of thing, right? To be able to kind of go on your own and do something of your own to find yourself, if you will, doesn't seem too far-fetched. At first, when we jump into this episode, I thought we were seeing Catwoman for a second. I was like, is this the Catwoman? But no, it is in fact Barbara Gordon, kind of playing around with the security systems, if you will, gaining herself some fancy jewelry, which clearly Robin has no problem helping her try on whatsoever. So I thought it was actually a really great surprise and a really great way for Dick, along with Barbara, to kind of get even closer together, if you ask me. It does make me beg the question, though. How long was Batgirl's or Barbara Gordon's stint as Batgirl, right? They even like joke around the idea of like, you know, what am I supposed to become, like you and Bruce sort of thing? What am I going to be called? And he's like, Robin Girl, or how about Batgirl? You know, like I am curious as to how long her stint went on as Batgirl, because not only do they reference Batgirl in here, but Dick Grayson also references the idea of Oracle, maybe using Oracle to go ahead and try and find where Jason is at. And it seems as though the use of Oracle is something that Barbara clearly doesn't want to use. Maybe she feels like it's the idea of Oracle is maybe too it was it invasive, right? Like getting way too personal into people's business. Like the idea of using something like that just breaks all different types of rights and just security and things like that. So I am kind of curious to know, was she ever Batgirl at any particular point in time, or did the Joker get to her beforehand? Was she literally only Batgirl for like a year and then wind up being put into the wheelchair? I am kind of curious to see if we'll get any further development of it. But the one thing that I've always wanted to see in this season, or just in this show in general, is the relationship between these two. We know that they clearly have a past when it comes to the comic books, a very close past. They've been in a relationship before. So to kind of see that forming in here, I really enjoyed it. I do think that Brenton Thwaites, who plays Dick Grayson, and Savannah Welsh have great chemistry on screen. I really do love those two together. And it's honestly more that I want to see. Like, even though I know that Dick and Corey, I'm assuming that they're together in some capacity. There is a part of me that still wants to see Barbara and Dick Grayson together. I don't know if there's anybody else that kind of feels that way, but I really appreciated just the glimpse into that past, and then also seeing how that past of them smuggling and stealing jewelry and things like that together winds up bringing up the villain in this episode in Lady Vic, who clearly still has a bone to pick with Barbara Gordon over the death of her husband, as we wind up having Lady Vic and her husband facing off against Barbara and Dick Grayson in this episode. So to kind of see Lady Vic accidentally, and that's the one thing about villains that I just never get, the idea that they just hold so much animosity towards one particular person when they're the one that wind up doing the killing. Like, Barbara Gordon literally had nothing to do with this besides just trying to spring the jewels for herself. But Lady Vic wants to get mad because she's the one that threw a knife into the heart of her husband. So, maybe you should find out where you truly want to put your blame at. And so it always makes me laugh when villains wind up wanting to blame somebody else for the situations they wind up causing themselves. But overall, great stuff between Dick Grayson along with Barbara Gordon here this week. I really love seeing those two together. And it's something that I clearly would love to see go a little bit further. But if anything, these two really have to kind of come together and work together. The idea of Vigilante and GCPD clearly not working too well as of right now. I love just that awkward tension, especially at the end of the episode where he does take her back home, make sure that nobody's in the apartment, sort of thing. There's an element to Dick Grayson I feel like wants to two things: either wants to stay behind and hang out there for the night, or he's waiting for maybe Barbara to kind of give him that opening, which she certainly never does. And it's just that awkward, okay, I guess I'm gonna go home now type of thing. So I'm hoping that these two clearly figure things out. I understand the position Barbara's in, though. I know that she's close with vigilantes, but homeboy literally helped Crane escape and wind up causing a bigger debacle than there certainly needed to be. So I guess there definitely has to be a balance between those two that they have not yet achieved as of right now. Shout out, though, to Barbara Gordon in regards to the fight sequence that we wind up having towards the end between her and Lady Vic. I had no idea the situation that she was certainly going to walk into, but the fact that Barbara Gordon literally has weapons attached to her wheelchair, like her two baton staffs, the fact that she clearly held her own, she's clearly been doing some training. Like, do not judge her just because of the fact that she's in a wheelchair. Like, Lady Vic literally thought this was going to be a piece of cake, right? Like, she was just going to stab her, get her kill, and then just sort of leave. But I love the fact that Barbara Gordon certainly showed up to prove that she's not helpless. She's not helpless whatsoever. So I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. What did you guys think about just the Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon storyline that we wind up getting? Did you appreciate the chemistry between these two actors as much as I did? Again, I definitely would love to see more of them. And I think while I certainly have enjoyed this season, there's plenty of things about this season that I have enjoyed. The Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon storyline is one that continues to win me over each and every day, every time I watch an episode. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see here. What else we got to talk about here today? We'll talk a little bit about some Starfire and Blackfire here also. First and foremost, I love the fact that this episode literally opens with her having to give everybody, with Starfire having to give everybody like a lesson of the day. Don't sleep with your eyes closed. Is that what she said? Let me see if I can pull up. What did she say? She says, everyone sleep with one eye open. Like, really? Like that's reassuring. Thanks a lot, Starfire, that you literally bring your crazy ass sister in here, and now you want us to sleep with our one eye open. The fact that she refers to Connor Kent as her manservant, I thought was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, there's going to be a learning curve when it comes to Blackfire, but I love the dynamic between Connor and Blackfire. Like, there's a part of Blackfire that seems very curious about Starfire's friends and just the world that she's kind of on right now and how things are certainly run when it comes to Earth. I don't necessarily know if it's going to go as far as Connor Kent saying, hey, you know, maybe you can become family someday, right? Like, maybe you can become a Titan and they'll welcome you in, sort of thing. I don't necessarily know if it's going to go that far, but I am kind of curious as to where Blackfire's mindset is. Is there more to her than what we've seen so far, right? I mean, we've seen Corey, allow her to escape from the facility that she was certainly in. She's brought her in under her wing now here to Bruce Wayne Manor as well. What is she going to do? Is she just going to kind of sit on the sideline sort of thing? Is she going to start plotting? Like, does she have an overall plan to maybe bring down Starfire's world? I don't really know. She hasn't really come across as like manipulative or overly evil right now, right? Like, there's a lot of animosity that she clearly harbors towards her sister for maybe garnering all the attention that she certainly has. But I'm not seeing anything with Blackfire right now that's like, you know what, I'm going to burn this whole entire world to the ground sort of thing. So I am interested to see the direction that she goes, if she's going to end up being rather helpful to our Titans or not. And I do find her story interesting because I do feel like there are just siblings out there that can probably relate to the Starfire and Blackfire story. Not the idea of like killing your boyfriend and your parents sort of relating, but the idea of just having like either that older sister or that older brother that tends to get all the attention. People tend to worship them, right? They get gifted with like all these abilities, your natural abilities, right? Go on to do athletical stuff, artistic stuff, and you just have the one sibling that's just like, it can't stand that child or can't stand their sibling because of the fact that they almost seem to be perfect or get everything right. So the fact that we have somebody like Blackfire that feels like she's maybe had to go over the top to get people's attention and to make people fear her and worship her sort of thing because she lacks some of the things that Corey certainly does. I dig the storyline. I really do dig the push and pull of these two sisters in here. My biggest question right now is, it's still very early into this season. Well, I guess it's about halfway point, right? Because I think there's like 13 episodes this season. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But I am curious to know where it's going. And again, the idea that she kind of warms up a little bit to Connor, talking to him in the car, thinking that he's his manservant. I think even when he left the room, after Starfire said, can you give us some time? Didn't she like give him the glance to kind of check homeboy as he's like leaving and things, like leaving the room sort of thing? So I'm curious. I'm really curious to see what winds up happening in that regards. And I will say this. I talked about this just briefly, but I do want to go back to it. Just a quick shout out to Gar Logan, who winds up losing it on Dick Grayson in here, as we get to see Starfire and Gar trying to mend his wounds as he wind up getting shot in the previous episode. You know, talking about the idea that Gar has so much more to do, it's nice to kind of see him raise his voice a little bit and kind of lose it, trying to kind of speak some sense into Grayson. It almost feels as like Gar is kind of grown up, that he's not just like the kid in training anymore, that he has a spot on the team that deserves to sort of be listened to. And even though Dick Grayson doesn't listen to anybody, he's just clearly going to do his own thing. I appreciated it. And I love the fact that when he gets angry, he winds up turning green. I was like, you don't want to see him angry. I like the Incredible Hulk. I mean, homeboy was literally about to turn into his tiger. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it in here. Let's see here. And then last but not least, the Red Hood stuff, which I find really interesting, man, because, you know, this season began with Red Hood, you know, approaching a group of mob bosses with a bunch of money. And he had this big old plan to go ahead and bring mayhem and whatever the case may be to Gotham. And now the fact that we see Red Hood, who's now just a puppet, it feels like, to Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane, I don't know how to feel about it. I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. Do you think that it pulls the oomph from Jason Todd as Red Hood's impact this season? Or do you kind of appreciate the storyline that he's kind of going down? The idea that Red Hood thinks that he's the one pulling the strings, but Scarecrow clearly makes sure to kind of correct him on that. The idea that, hey, bro, you are expendable, as we get to see Lady Vic in here, sort of as that insurance policy, like in case Red Hood can't certainly go through with it, or he goes off the rail sort of thing. You need that insurance policy of somebody that is certainly going to go ahead and take care of it. And Lady Vic dished out some brutal deaths in this episode for sure. As much as not knowledgeable about the character as I am, I did appreciate at least the brutality that she wound up bringing in this episode, even though story arc wise, her character is a little bit boring, just from the brief origin that we wind up seeing here in this episode. But the idea here is that Red Hood wants to push the anti-fear drug onto the streets and start bringing chaos and mayhem to Gotham. And he winds up going behind Jonathan Crane's back and doing it himself. Fuck Crane, I think is what he wound up saying. There's a lot of fuck in this episode, like fuck Crane, fuck Batman, fuck Robin. Like everybody's saying fuck to somebody in this season so far. I literally have heard that term like 3 times, honestly, so far, 6 episodes in. But he wants to go ahead and do his own thing, and I'm here for it. I love the whole idea of like an anarchist Red Hood who just wants to be solo and just do things on his own. A part of me feels like there is something that's taken away from the Red Hood storyline, knowing that it's almost like it's truly Scarecrow that's like the big bad sort of this season. Not to take anything away from Red Hood, because clearly, considering the fact that what we see him do at the end of this episode continues to solidify Red Hood and Jason Todd as a villain in here, winds up breaking into Tim Drake's family restaurant, having some of these thugs who just took their anti-fear, committing murder. I'm assuming, at least. We hear a ton of gunshots, but we only see one person wounded, which looks to be Tim Drake's father. So there is something there in regards to the idea that we have an ex-Robin helping to create a brand new Robin in here, right? Because I believe in the comic books, not only is Tim Drake a big fan of Batman, which we've seen hints at, but somebody, I believe, kills his family, and he actually goes out to search for Batman and Robin after he discovers their identities. So we've seen his fan love for Bats and Robin. We've seen his family brutally attacked in this episode. It'll be interesting to see how Tim Drake pushes to try and either locate Batman, or maybe he runs across Nightwing, whatever the case may be, to kind of jump into the fold. I'll be really curious, but we've got ourselves a new Robin origin right before our eyes in here. So I really appreciated it. And I also do love the fact that, one of the questions I had was, will he ever see, in the regards of Red Hood, will he ever see the error of his ways, or is he too far gone? Like, is there a redemption story for Jason Todd by the end of this season? The fact that Gar kind of hopes that there's a chance to kind of save him is reassuring, right? I think Dick Grayson is open to the idea. I don't think he's completely shut to the idea of like, we got to kill Red Hood the moment that we find him, sort of thing. But I am kind of curious, like, are they going to capture him, take him to jail? Is he going to die, type of thing? I'm very curious to see, like, if there's going to be, I don't want to say a happy ending, but some sort of redemption for Red Hood by the end of the season, or is he literally too far gone? So some great stuff in this episode, guys. Again, I think the further detail in the sea, the idea of Red Hood going on his own behind Jonathan Crane's back, the continued Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson relationship, and then, of course, the Starfire and Blackfire stuff really gets me excited so far for this episode. So not too bad of an episode. Again, if you found it lackluster, it could be that of not too many costumes, not too many big bombastic action sequences. But I am kind of curious when it comes to Dick Grayson and Corey, like, Are they together? I'm under the impression that they're together. Corey doesn't truly seem to care so much about she literally says, like, look, I don't even want to know the disgusting details between you and Barbara and whatever that past certainly looked like. You just fix the problem, Dick. Okay. Like, whatever the case may be, just fix it. So I'm wondering, like, is she okay if they were to get back together? Is she I don't know. Like, is she just cool like that? You know what I'm saying? I would be interested to see if there's like any jealousy that Corey might be feeling. I highly doubt it, though, just based off of the fact that Corey seems to be so caught up in everything that she's got going on with her sister returning, trying to find, like, what do I do with you now that I have you sort of mentality. Should be interesting to see how it all plays itself out. But guys, listen, I want to know your guys' thoughts. I feel like, if anything, I've seen stronger episodes. I feel like episode 4 and this 6th episode, if I had to say the term weaker of all the 6, probably weaker, but I'm not going to say that they were bad. They were enjoyable episodes, informative to certainly say the least, but just not that hard-hitting and gut-punching as you certainly would love to see, as we certainly have had so far in this season. But listen, guys, at the end of the day, though, it's just simply my A+ opinions. I certainly want to go ahead and know yours. What did you guys think about this particular week's episode of Titans? Certainly go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. But other than that, that's going to do it for us here. So we'll certainly see you next week. Remember, every Wednesday live at 8 p.m. Central. Certainly join us then and share your thoughts in regards to what you thought about this episode. But until next time, guys, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. If you enjoy our content and want to be a part of helping our channel grow, become a patron supporter. We have affordable tiers to choose from that offer a variety of exclusive and early access content, from audio files for all of our shows for you to enjoy on the road, access to our Discord community, and plenty of reactions, reviews, character breakdowns, and more. Check us out at patreon.com/A+opinions. And as always, remember, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so anytime we drop a brand new video, you will be notified.